Just as we are seeing excitement back at Tesla, not just for their prospects for the electric vehicle auto business, but now also autonomy, we're continuing to see one automaker after another announce more layoffs, more factory closures, and just in general more bad news. Autoblog just published an analysis saying that there are many auto brands that might not survive the electric revolution. They list out 20 automakers who they don't believe will make it. We'll also report on Nissan, Stellantis, and BYD. And then to help me with this is Larry Goldberg. Welcome, Larry. Appreciate you joining me today.
Great to be here.
This is a fantastic article, and few people are actually looking at it because they're just so, it's a juxtaposition to what's happening with Tesla, which is where the attention is now. Just one after another bad news for every automaker. Here you've got finally Autoblog doing an analysis, and they're calling it the EV apocalypse. Which brands might not survive the electric revolution? Whether legacy manufacturers or EV startups, there will be many casualties on the way to EV nirvana. You've got this list here: Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram, Alfa Romeo, Fiat, Maserati, Toyota's in this list, Lexus, Nissan. We've got signs showing that they're struggling. Infiniti, Mazda, Subaru, Jaguar, Land Rover, Mercedes-Benz. I always thought that these kind of smaller niche brands could survive. Volkswagen, Audi, and Porsche. So they've got a list here that we're going to go through, but basically saying the path to electrification is very difficult. Both legacy automakers and the EV startups, the recent plateauing of EV demand has put additional pressure on manufacturers that have gone all in on EVs. For those that haven't, it may be too late. We're going to go through each one of these. What's your thoughts first on that list?
Well, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And I think one of the reasons he doesn't give, or at least I don't recall him giving, is the sort of interim solution of the hybrid. And I think they're losing a lot of time by messing with that hybrid solution.
You think so? That's going to be a failure? Okay.
Oh, it is a failure. I mean, what it's doing is it's putting off the evil day. It's staving off the evil day. And while they're getting, some good revenue from it for the moment, it's not going to advance their ability to produce good EVs, which is the thrust of his article.
Yeah, let's first of all, he just does this, I think, very simplistic way to explain what's going on. So legacy makers are saddled with traditional ways of operating. They already have full-fledged gas cars to produce and generate profits from. The good news is that this gives them a revenue stream that they can invest in EV production. The bad news is their legacy operations make it more difficult to fully commit to the changes necessary to produce EVs in the best possible way. So that's absolutely, straightforward. EV startups have their own issues, right? People like Fisker tried to do this. They're going bankrupt. Generating sufficient production volume is the issue. It takes affordable EVs that average consumers want to buy in large quantities. You can't get to affordable until you've got the ability to even make the more expensive ones profitable, and they're having troubles doing that. Tesla, the most successful EV startup, has the benefit of decade-plus head start, which they have used to leapfrog their legacy competition, unburdened by the traditional way of doing things. And then with an international production base, advanced software, direct-to-consumer sales, they blaze their own trail, generating production volume needed to get the margins and a higher scale. So
those are very important passages because they show it's not just the EV itself, it's the business model around it. It's all the supporting, it's all the electronic, it's the app, it's the direct sales, all of that, all of the above, which by selling hybrids and or gas cars, they're trying to avoid all of it.
Okay, so let's go through the list here. They got four. These are the legacy brands that may not survive, according to their list. Ford. While the Mustang Mach-E is a credible product, F-150 Lightning production will soon be shut down until next year. They announced that they're going to shut that down. They're going to slow down production. The three-row SUV was postponed, and the Skunk Works low-cost EV has not been revealed. Doesn't look good for Ford. You got Lincoln. There are 0 Lincoln EVs at this point. You got Chrysler, single hybrid minivan. Nothing else in the lineup. Chrysler is going nowhere fast. Dodge. How many Charger EVs will be sold to those who love the ICE versions? 61,000 and up. Are there any Dodge EVs coming? Ram. The 1500 REV may solve truck owners' range and towing issues, but at an estimated 58 to 85,000, will it be embraced by the average truck buyer? Toyota. Regardless of a leadership in hybrids, the company is yet to produce a desirable EV. Can they get their act together in time? But that's the only one I think that I'm not as worried about quite yet. What do you think about
Oh, I'm
this
very worried
list so
about
far?
Toyota.
Yeah.
Yeah, their business model is entirely it's invested in their dealerships, and it's the brand that the dealerships are most happy with. So it's the most vulnerable because of their size, they are extremely vulnerable. They're just going to feel a little bit later than most.
So that's
And
the
and
list.
and and they're playing around with hydrogen, and I mean, talk about losing time. Of course, they have got the spectacular battery that's going to have 1,000-mile range and cost zero. So they're going to win the whole thing on that battery. So, and it's been
Mhm.
promised for the last 5 years. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I guess my point is that the other automakers, they're smaller markets. They're kind of more precarious. If something's just gets thrown off, like for example the China market, they're losing so much share there. That's enough to bring their scale down. That's enough to make them flip their business models to the point that they can't afford this and they're going to go out sooner than later. Toyota, they're so big that they have scale, and it'll take them a little bit longer before they see the reduction in sales of ICE cars. I don't know. We'll see what happens to them.
I don't know. If you look at what's happening in Volkswagen, you could have argued all of that with
True.
Volkswagen, but look at what's happening to them. They're in terrible trouble. Well, we
That's a
get
good
there.
point. Yep. So let's go through one by one here. You got Stellantis. They just announced that they're going to lay off 1,100 workers at their Ohio Jeep plant, the Jeep Gladiator plant. Now they're saying they're trying to improve efficiency, reduce inventory. Of course, they're being hit there. They recently shook up the senior management. I think it was them that announced they're not going to renew the CEO when that tenure is up, and they have an issue. So, yep, there it is. CEO Carlos Tavares' decision to slash manufacturing workers, such as those in Toledo, has angered the United Auto Workers. Of course, you're damn if you do, you're damn if you don't. If you don't fire them, how are you going to survive? They threaten a nationwide work walkout just a year after a 6-week strike. And then the delays in planned billion-dollar investment in a new battery plant and factory. There's a reason why they're struggling all along this way. You got Nissan also announcing cutting both their outlook and 9,000 job cuts. Will sell back up to 10% of its stake in Mitsubishi Motors, sounding like they're in the last stages. What do you know about these two?
I mean, Stellantis and Nissan have to be the poster children for sick companies. I mean, Stellantis kept pushing cars into the dealer network, even after the dealer network were crying uncle. So they're in terrible trouble. And Nissan has, they've blown it badly. I mean, I don't see how either of those two companies survive but in over 5 years. I think in 5 years' time they'll be gone.
Yeah. Maybe their brand will survive. Somebody will buy the brand, but the particular company won't. Nissan, like you said, is suffering big time. They saw their operating income plunge to just 150 billion yen in the fiscal year ending in March. It's down 70% from its previous forecast. They lowered their revenue outlook by more than 9%, meaning they now expect virtually no growth for the year. They're lagging behind their Japanese peers. You can take a look at Toyota's the black line up here, the blue line, the darker blue line is Honda, and then you've got the Nissan
Notice
at
the
the bottom.
slope of the black line.
Yeah. Okay. Well, see, notice the slope of it going up. That's what I was saying, right? And then, yeah, you, you're right. Good point. So actually, if you look at that slope of the black line, it's even worse than Nissan.
Yeah.
So interesting. Okay.
But Nissan is in far worse financial condition than Toyota. Toyota has.
Well, this is forecast, by the way, just FYI.
Yeah. But I mean, it's the company's own forecast.
Good point. Yeah, he's the CEO saying that Nissan's facing an existential crisis in the wake of former chairman Carlos Ghosn's departure. Yeah, can't right the ship. Nissan is the weakest one.
Yeah.
The only way to way for the company to improve sales is through price cuts. and you can't do that if you're not making money. And then BYD, interesting, right? So we haven't reported on them recently. Their numbers have improved, but like you pointed out before, it was mostly hybrids that are growing, and even their gas cars. But here they've stopped talking about Canadian expansion because of the tariffs that was coming.
Yeah, but that's where this article is wrong. You can't really dethrone a Chinese champion. You can't. The BYD is the anointed Chinese champion by the Chinese government. You're not going to dethrone that company. That company is going to be in very good shape, regardless. And they have a range of EVs. They have a range of hybrids. I think the one vulnerability is their dealership network. They're selling through dealerships. I think that it's a dead business model. Time will tell how long they stick to it, but they're going to survive. They're going to be not only survive, they're going to be probably the leading volume company in auto manufacturing globally.
So let's take a look at the news. BYD paused its plans to enter the Canadian electric vehicle market following the imposition of a 100% federal tariff on EVs imported to Canada from China. Over the summer, the company met with dealers across Canada, possibly establishing a distribution network. They engaged with lobbyists to advise the government, and I guess it didn't work. The 100% tariffs, same thing happening here in the US. So these are pretty big enough for them to stop and just think about what they want to do, I guess.
But focusing on the Canadian market is really like focusing on Toledo, Ohio for Walmart. Yeah. It's not their principal market.
Right. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal for them. We'll see what they do in the US. In the meantime, Tesla is killing it, and Mexican government is trying to plead with Tesla to try to please open up a plant there. This is the economy chief, Minister Ebrand. He's going to try to meet with Elon to try to tell him, hey, please build an electric car factory here in northern Mexico. It looks like that they're getting the sense that the plans for Tesla to build a gigafactory there is stopped, and he's going to be out there trying to plead with him. Do you think, especially with the Trump victory, the idea, Trump saying that he wants to put tariffs even with Mexican imports into the U.S., but I still believe that they might continue at some point with a factory in Mexico because they can still sell in South America. What's your thinking?
The volumes in South America would not. I mean, they'd have to scale the plans down quite significantly. Well, it's a possibility that they'll put up a plant to ship to South America. It's more than possible. They will probably not be shipping to the United States. And, Elon has this amazing spidey sense. He pushed back on the plans to move to Mexico. They were all ready to go, and he just pushed back and turned out to be right. Trump has said he's going to close down manufacturing plants in Mexico. Now, they negotiated a pact with Canada and Mexico to replace NAFTA. I don't know too much about that, but it seems that Trump is invested in that pact. So whether he's now changed his mind about it and whether he's going to back off and actually put tariffs on Mexican cars, I don't know. But it's more than possible. Listen, he got the support of the Teamsters Union. This is, this is like Biden's home club. And Trump got the support. So I think that Mexican manufacturing may be in some jeopardy.
All right, back to the automakers. Here's the reason why they're struggling. It's mostly the story is China. Michael Dunn does a great job. I've had him on my channel several times. He is based in China. He's an auto expert, and he follows the Chinese automakers. And he said the global automaker in China market, those shocks are starting to be felt globally. So Volkswagen, 3 plant closures and 20,000 employees. That's because almost every single European and American car maker in China haven't been able to make it. They've lost significant market share in China, which used to be a big part of their business. Now they have to cut 3 plants and 20,000 layoffs. Nissan, 9,000 cuts. Like many foreign automakers, it is struggling in China, where BYD and other local manufacturers are gobbling up market share with affordable EVs and hybrids that boast advanced technology. Stellantis, the 1100 cut. GM and Ford, are they on deck next?
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, GM and Ford have their truck business, and that truck business is rather unique, and the Chinese are not going to come in there. But I mean, GM's business on the continent is in terrible trouble, terrible trouble. And all the automakers in Europe are in terrible trouble. I mean, Europe has got the worst of everything. I mean, the United States has still got a vigorous market. It's kept the borders, it's kept the Chinese out up to now, and probably will. Europe is another matter. Europe is in dire straits, dire straits. Interestingly enough, the only car manufacturer that's actually expanding in Europe right now is Tesla.
Yeah, Tesla,
And
Chinese automakers.
apart from the Chinese companies that are opening up in the periphery of the EU, they're building plants there, and they will build cars there, and they will build cars less expensively and better quality than the Germans are doing.
So we've heard Elon say before, right? He goes, I think that the top 10 automakers, there's going to be Tesla and then 9 other Chinese automakers.
Yeah.
But Michael Dunn and other people I've spoken to, Nick Colas, both of these guys are like auto industry legends. They warn, actually, I'm sorry, I know for sure Nick Colas believes this, that China may not be able to go global, okay? Because it's one thing that they can do really well on their own, but you can see the retraction from Canada. They may not make it into US if they put in these tariffs, right? Protectionism. Do you think that it will still end up becoming
Europe? They'll make it to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
They're already setting up plants in Poland, Czechoslovakia. They will make it to Europe. They will set up plants. They'll manufacture in Europe, because Europe, it doesn't have a tough president like Trump, who's just blocking them. I mean, they were all set to open in Mexico, and he's just drawn a line. He said, no, you can't open in Mexico. I'll close you down. And Mexico is going to have to stop them, because, Trump will turn around and tear up the tariff pact. So I'm not sure they're going to enter into the US. I think that's right. But it looks like in Europe, it's a done deal. It's going to need a revolution in European thinking to stop the Chinese.
Okay, great. This topic is very important, but hey, because of the week that we had, this is kind of lost. Nobody really covered this very much.
Absolutely.
And there's one after another bad news, but these, Autoblog finally came out with their list, and surprisingly, what was in there. Thank you for reviewing that with me today, Larry. Follow him on his X account at Tesla Larry. Thank you, everybody. Bye. I've created a website that is the most comprehensive resource for the Tesla investor. Please check it out. Simply go to my website at herbertong.com.